Thanks for being with us today, y'all. We have an incredible guest here. One guy that I look up to a lot. And I told Richie as he was coming in, I said, I'm going to wait to kind of talk to you about how and what I've seen about you over the years. But we are trying to remember if we've ever met face to face over the years, but we've become friends on social media. I'm sure you've met a ton of people on social media and become like friends over social media.
Yeah, man, totally.
Yeah.
And here we are, making it happen.
Right?
Best friends forever.
So he thought he thought I was my cousin Richard, who he surfed with a couple times down in San Diego, because Richard and I are pretty much twins. We've both heard that numerous times.
That's right.
But Richie is a guy that I've admired from far. I have followed him for, I don't know, it's probably been a decade now. But dude is full of wisdom, is hilarious, great family man, father, husband, has done some amazing things over his career and continues to do during his career. He's an author. He just put out his fourth book.
I have my third
book.
Yeah.
Third book. I remember one of my favorite stories that I've actually referenced in meetings or when I'm speaking to groups, came from a book that talked. It's a watermelon story, and maybe so it was mentioned in a book. Oh my gosh, I keep forgetting the name of the book. Help me.
That's Who Not How.
Who Not How.
Ben Hardy and Dan.
Ben Hardy. Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Richie Norton. And so I think I hit you up. Is this you, Richie? Yeah, that sure is, man. Yeah. That's me. So he's accomplished a lot, and so we'll talk a little bit about it. So, dude, it's good to have you. He's in from Hawaii.
Yep.
Oahu.
Yep. North Shore.
He's been there for 2 decades now, I think.
I have.
Lucky.
Yeah. All my kids are born there. Yeah, man, it's a good time.
Every one of your kids was born there.
Yeah.
Is your wife from there?
No. She grew up all over the place. But,
did she?
We've lived out there longer than we've lived anywhere else.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, who doesn't want to live in Hawaii? I mean, Maui is my heaven. And I've been to a lot of places. I mean, anywhere in Hawaii is heaven.
No, man, every island has its own magic.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Kauai is beautiful, but insanely boring, I have to say. And maybe it's because I'm not doing the right things.
You got to go to the right places.
Is there a place what do you do on Kauai?
Well, I'm not, there's tons to do, but I can't say it out loud or else it'll blow it up. You know what I mean? You got to go to the secret spots,
Yeah, dude. My buddy took me to a fishing place to fish about 2 hours from here. He said, the only way I'm taking you cannot tell anybody because there was no one there.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of how it is. I
that's
get it.
Cool.
Maybe off camera.
There you go.
Maybe off camera.
There you go.
Okay, so we know you like to surf. What else are your hobbies?
No, man, I'm excited to be here. I like all the stuff you got back here behind me.
Dude.
It's making me really happy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Like Mr. T.
Hey, you remember?
Are you kidding me?
Do you know there are?
Of course I do.
I think it's just like you and I are pretty close, the same age, but like, I bring some of these newcomers, and they're like, "What the heck is that?"
They don't even know
who
what's
is
going on.
Mr. T. They don't even know who Mr. T is.
They don't even know what life is.
That's right. Figure it out. If you don't know who Mr. T is, you need to figure life out, man.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, that's good. That was an incredible cereal. I bet you they bring it back. Quaker, you got to bring it back.
Make it happen.
You got to make it happen. But thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
but tell me what you're doing, dude, on it, because you're all over the place. Like you are constantly doing.
Yeah.
Being a dad, working, writing. You're an incredible social media pro. Like you get it. And
that's nice of you.
And no, you really are. Like you know how to put content out. It's captivating. It's interesting. It's unique. It's inspiring. There's not a whole lot of people that know how to do social media right. You'd be one of those people.
Oh, that's nice of you coming from you, especially.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, for sure. Like you're as good as they get. So what does a day look like out, for you in Hawaii?
I mean, it's a terrible question because it looks pretty good. I'm just honestly, I walk my little dog. We have little Maltese Shih Tzu, little white dog. I walk him on the beach all day. I take my phone calls, on the beach. Go surf, hang out with my kids, surf with them. My wife will go to Pilates, you know what I mean, and we'll hang out and just do our thing.
Yeah.
And what we designed our life that way. We designed it to be done in a way that we actually have space to be able to create and do what we want. And when I say that, you can look at anybody's life as like, on one side there's like this highlight reel, and then the other side you go, oh, this is like a Shakespearean tragedy. There's like a
Shakespearean.
There's like a ton of terrible things going on behind the scenes, and that's kind of our life story. But I'll tell you some things I'm doing that I can back up and share.
Yeah,
why.
please.
But like, a number of years, my brother-in-law passed away at 21 in his sleep out of nowhere.
Are you kidding me, dude?
And it was crazy. He was living on and off with us in Hawaii for like 5 years. And so when that happened, it changed the way I thought about time, and about life. Because you think growing up in the States, you think one day I'm going to be 65 and I'm going to retire. I mean, that's what's been drilled in our minds for a long time. And I thought, well, that wasn't true for him, And a few years later, my wife and I, we had our fourth son, and we named him Gavin after my brother-in-law. His name was Gavin. And one day he got this cough, and it was so random. I took him to the doctors, and they said he was fine. We took him back and said he was fine. Well, it turned out one night when he was having a real hard time breathing, we went to the doctors, and they said, oh my gosh, we need to admit him to the hospital, emergency room. We ended up staying there for quite some time. It turned out they finally checked for something called pertussis, also known as whooping cough.
Whooping cough, of course.
And you think like, oh, that's something of the past, or whatever. But this time, I guess it was going around, and it was just so much on his little body. And I remember like a nurse came in and she said, you guys need to stay the night, which was weird because we obviously always stayed the night, right? And she said, stay the night. I'm like, yeah, of course. It was his last night there in the hospital. I remember, I don't want to get too emotional, but I remember they took out all the wires and all the, heart monitors and all that kind of stuff. And they just let us I held him for a second, handed him to my wife, and she just rocked him. I had my hand on his little heart. We sang lullabies, and he slipped away. And it was from these two like deaths, like back to back, that made us go, maybe we should live life a little bit differently, And someone asked me, what'd you learn from this experience, from your brother-in-law passing away, from your son passing away? It was actually Sherry Dew. I don't know if you've heard
of course.
her. Yeah,
she's great. I love Sherry.
I used to put all these conferences in Hawaii, and so I got to know her. Anyways, she said, what'd you learn? And I was like, I don't know what I learned. I don't think I learned anything. I learned, life sucks. What am I supposed to learn?
For real. And that's what most people are going to say, right?
And my wife's like, asked me in a year. And I thought about it, and I came up with something I call Gavin's Law, which is live to start to live. I believe that when you live to start, those ideas that are pressing on your mind, you really will start living.
That's great.
Even if they don't work out. Because so many people like The Walking Dead, Living Dead, not knowing what they're going to do. And it's like, but you still have this stupid idea, that's pressing on your mind. So I ended up writing a book about it called The Power of Starting Something Stupid.
That's great.
The idea is,
what a great title.
Stupid is the new smart. And we were trying to figure out, I started looking at, successful people start things, and that became really obvious. But then I realized everything from like Twitter, which is so different now than it was before, but the telephone, the Model T, like, the car, they all started from someone saying they were crazy, they were stupid, they shouldn't do it, and I even started interviewing people who would in retirement, and they'd say, I spent all this time trying to do something. I thought I needed more time, more education, more experience, more money, only to find out that when I got there, I still needed more time, more education.
Yeah, exactly.
More experience, more money. I was like, this is crazy. So I wrote this book, The Power of Starting Something Stupid, to try and figure out, and what I learned is that stupid is the new smart, and that you can overcome your fear and your pride and procrastination. And if you do it within a timeline that is shorter than you imagine you have, magic happens.
Dang. We just found a clip. That's a short right there.
Oh my gosh.
That's a Yoda moment.
You're so funny.
Dang. It's so true, man. You got to be willing to be stupid.
Yeah.
For the right reasons, right? And I can't tell you how many times I've been called stupid.
No, it's for real.
Like, yeah.
No, it's true. The hard thing is, and you probably realize this because you're interviewing super successful people, they get to a point where they realize they got all this success and they're ready for something else and they want to do something different. And they realize they don't really like their strengths because their strengths got them somewhere, but they want to do something else, but they feel like they're in a box. This is what happens to successful people. The hard thing is they knew it took stupid to get there. But now that they're on a pedestal to go down and come back up, they're unwilling.
Yeah, man.
And they end up living a life where they're sad, even though they have millions.
So true.
It's a real thing.
It's so true. I can name three or four people come to mind right now.
Yeah.
That you just described.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, being willing to be stupid. I maybe want to start a book or write a book that follows up his incredible book.
There you
Be
go.
willing to be stupid.
There you go.
But I feel like even on a daily basis, I'm still willing to be stupid on certain things. Like
Totally.
here at Gigg, we're always constantly trying, testing. And, I don't know how much you know about the new partner I just brought on, Paul Jarman, former CEO of In Contact. And I'm literally sitting next to Yoda every day working with this guy. And
Is he green too?
Dude, he's incredible.
All right.
The guy is incredible, and I've been super fortunate. But he, stepping into the business here, he was willing to be stupid.
Yeah.
And because he was willing to be stupid,
we're
flying. And I'm so grateful he was willing to be stupid. And he's, he's so successful. He's made a tremendous amount of money.
Yeah.
But here he is, in his mid 50s.
Yeah.
Ready to go at it again.
Yeah.
It's just in his blood. And to your point, like, you got to keep it flowing. You got to keep grinding.
Smart has already been done. Like anything that is outside of smart, people will consider it to be stupid or crazy or wild, or you shouldn't do this, but that's where innovation happens. It's just where it is. That's where creativity is. It lives outside of the smart. Yeah.
The creative side of a human being, I think, is the most powerful. And I think, in education, always filling yourself with knowledge is so important, but that creative side is capable of endless possibilities.
No, it's true.
How do you educate yourself? You obviously are educated. Anyone that can write a decent book is educated. How are you grabbing knowledge on a daily basis?
I'm just making it up as I go,
Yeah. Aren't we all?
Like we do. I'll tell you this. This shouldn't be unique to me. It could be for anybody. But because I put a lot of content out there, I get a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily call it feedback, but questions.
Totally.
And when people ask questions and it's interesting, then I'm like, oh, I should either learn more about that, or I can answer that. Or, if it's something just interesting, what I learned is people may see me as someone who could answer that, which means like, can I? You know what I mean? And if I can I do something about it? So after writing that book, people started asking me for help to create all kinds of different companies. They're stupid ideas. And I realized I wasn't the subject matter expert in everyone else's things.
Yeah.
Like it's their thing. They're making up things that don't exist. But I could be an expert in helping them maybe make it happen because there's principles, that they could use to do that. So I started a company called Product, products you're proud of. So, because I have a background in making physical products. Like my first business outside of college was a cashmere business in Mongolia. I'm into social entrepreneurship. Like help people work their way out of poverty by creating jobs and that kind of stuff. Anyways, so I started this company called Product, and fast forward, we've been doing this for a while now. We make over 100 different products at any given time.
Wow.
Anything you can imagine.
Wow.
From yoga pants to tiny houses to jewelry. We invent camera gear, like all kinds of things. And I realized here's the key about learning stuff. If you think of yourself as the architect, you can create anything, because architects are wonderful. Architects don't build buildings, they draw them.
It's so true.
Right? General contractors don't swing a hammer unless they want to. They sub it all out.
Yeah.
So
true.
If you start realizing, kind of like that who, not how idea.
Yeah.
You start realizing that anything can be done and there is knowledge out there, whether you have it or someone else, or it's yet to be created. You can start designing what you want to have happen. So when I say I'm out there, I'll make it full circle. Walking on the beach, doing these things, it sounds like I'm just doing nothing. In reality, there's like hundreds of things happening. I've just done it in a way that allows me to be the architect and not necessarily the operator, unless I want to be the operator.
I love that, man.
So now I can choose what I like and want to do. And if everyone had the privilege, I get it's a major privilege, but had the privilege to choose what they like and want to do, imagine what could happen.
Love that, man. I love that. I remember as a kid, and I was young. I was probably 10, 11 years old. And my mom sat me down and she said, Scotty, there are two piles in your life that I'm going to tell you about. Good knowledge, incredible things to learn and adapt and figure out and work towards. And then there's a pile of trash and garbage. And I was a big fan of DuckTales at the time. If you don't know what DuckTales is, you got to figure your life out, okay? But Scrooge McDuck,
I know what it is.
You know what he does? You know what he does in his big high rise full of coin, right?
Totally.
He dives in and out of it. She said, "You have a choice. You get to dive into the trash or knowledge. And if you can figure out how to be diving and spending your time here, possibilities are endless."
Yeah.
And so there's so much knowledge out there, and you just got to go find it. And I love all the different ideas and things you just mentioned. So you are. We're not going to have enough time today to go through so many of the different things I'd love to chat with you about. So you've already talked about some of the hard times that you've been through, and I think that's probably some of the hardest that any human being could go through, is losing a child.
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
There is nothing like it. I'm trying to think of what could potentially be worse. I mean, a couple things come to mind. However, that's as tough as it gets. And I would imagine that you were in the depths of hell in some places and some. How did you get yourself out of it? I think one of the things that a lot of people have a hard time doing in life is getting themselves out of that rut.
That's a good question.
What did you do? Because you had to have dealt with the worst of the worst. What did you do?
That's a good question. So there's one thing I realized, and I realized that grief is a tunnel, not a cave.
Wow.
This is and it was a really important concept, because when I realized that, I realized, you gotta keep walking. You know what I mean? And you don't want to make it a cave when there isn't one. But I also learned it was okay to lay down and watch Netflix all day long and the latest Korean drama with my wife, and we love K-dramas. Anyways, I realized it was okay to not beat myself up when I felt bad. Because what I realized, when I felt bad, I would punish myself. But when I felt good, I also would punish myself because something bad was happening, or something bad had happened, and I shouldn't have the right to feel okay right now. So everyone experiences grief differently. I think there's that expression that pain is like gas, and it fills the whole room. I think Viktor Frankl talked about that in Man's Search for Meaning. And so there's not comparing. If you stub your toe, it all hurts, right? But I think if you realize that it is okay to be where you are now, but also there is that light, so that, as they say at the end of the tunnel, that it's not necessarily get over it or move on, because that experience becomes part of you as much as you don't want it to. It now is part of you.
Yeah.
But it's moving forward. And I learned I had to assign meaning to the situation instead of looking for meaning. Because when you look for meaning, you start making things up.
So true.
You start blaming God.
So true.
And you start laying blame where there is no blame, and you start lashing out at people where they don't need it because it's unnecessary. But it was for you. And so when you start assigning meaning, so for us, my wife and I, we said, we're not going to let this situation destroy our marriage, because we knew that it could. And we're going to live better for him because of him, our son. And we learned to try and be better, not bitter.
Wow.
That's what I learned.
It's amazing.
I'll tell you this, though, you might not know this, but we ended up, so we had 4 children, went down to 3 after our son passed away. Yeah. And then we brought in 3 foster kids. Yeah. So we ended up going from 4 to 3 to 6 kids overnight. So people go, how many kids do you have? And I'm like, I don't know. Do we have 7? Do we have 6? Do we have 3? My kids, if we say, if before we had the foster kids, if someone asked how many kids and we said 3 because we want to have the long conversation, kids would, no, there's another one, Dad. Yeah. I know there's another one, man. I just don't want to talk about it now. Yeah. So anyways, no, I just own it. We got 7 kids, and then we'll go through the whole conversation.
Yeah, that's cool.
But we had these foster children for 2 years. The thing is, we weren't foster parents. It was a mom that left these kids at our house. We didn't know her very well. We just met her a day before. Maybe it was in the day of. She needed help to watch these kids while she got this new night job. She didn't come back. I
didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah, well, I don't share too much of it. But anyways, CPS came to our house within a week, and they're like, yeah, we're going to take these kids. And that was why I think she left them with us, because
she knew
Child Protective Services was doing their thing. Anyways, we're like, what are you going to do? And they said, well, nobody really can take 3 kids. We'll have to split them up. It was a 7-year-old girl and 1-year-old twins. a boy and girl twin. Like, you're going to split these kids up? You know, they're going to sleep at our offices, they said. And we're like, well, we'll take them. You can't take them. What do you mean we can't? You know, like, what can we do? And, well, you're not foster certified. And I'm like, okay, fine. They got creative. They said, well, since she put them in your care, we can call it kinship placement. Like, okay. And you can't get paid. And we're like, not in it for the money. And we ended up taking care of these kids. And it was amazing. My wife was a miracle worker, you know, to them. But I share this because we created space for life, the unexpected. The idea of it's a tunnel, not a cave, also means there's opportunities to serve others in ways you couldn't before. When they ended up going back to their mom, which was a wonderful thing and a scary thing, you know, for us, because the pain's different. For a child that passes away, the pain is they're gone, and we have faith that maybe we'll see them again. But with them, it's like, are they okay? They're in the world, they're living. Like, are they eating? You know, I don't know. You know, it's a whole thing. After they left, my wife, I don't know if it was related or not, but she ended up having a stroke, and she lost her memory. And she got her memory back. But I was like, okay, so people can die, people can come and go. You know, you can lose your memory. You know, we ended up on the road. This was our plan. This is how we handled it. We huddled up together, and we got one-way tickets to New York, and we drove across the country.
Wow.
For 6 months, it ended up being. We didn't know where we were going to stay at night. We didn't know what we were going to do. We went from New York to San Diego to Mexico to Canada.
Oh, my gosh.
Back down through here, then flew back to Hawaii. And I'm going to kind of add another story in here. Like, how'd you do that? We didn't have all the money in the world. We didn't know what we were doing. We weren't going into debt. But it created what's called a forcing function, where I learned by putting our values first. This is the big concept. Value your time. Don't time your values.
Wow.
People waiting for retirement are timing their values.
Totally.
People waiting for an exit are timing their values.
Totally.
People that are waiting for their kids to grow up are timing their values. But if you work from the dream instead of endlessly toward it, you create a situation where you have almost like a castle. You get to live this lifestyle, and the way you work creates a moat that protects it.
Wow.
It's a different way of thinking.
Wow. Yet another clip. Dang. Keeping it going. Preach, brother.
So we did that. And I think I learned that, honestly, from my dad. You mentioned the watermelon story. I was 16 years old, and my dad's like, I said in the summer, I said, I want to get a job. I want to make some money. And he goes, you don't want a job, son. I'm like, what? Like, what dad tells their 16-year-old son not to get a job? It's like bad dad, you know?
Bad dad.
And he's like, no, you're a kid. You should like go to school, and you should like have fun. He said, you're going to work your whole life. And I was like, well, that's nice of you, Dad, but I still want money. And so the story is, he said, well, why don't you, I'm from San Diego. He goes, go to El Centro, where the watermelon farmers are, and ask them if you can buy their irregular sized watermelons, because they can't sell them to the grocery stores. And I'm like,
you're like, what the heck are you talking about,
like,
Dad?
how do you even know this stuff? Like, what are you talking about? You know, who knows? So I did. We took our family van, took out the seats out of it, my brother and I. And I know, you know, we're very lucky and fortunate to have this opportunity, but it wasn't like that much. Like, it was just watermelons they were going to throw away or whatever. Right. So we fill up our van full of these things. They said yes. We're like low riding all the way back home, like 3 hours, you know, it was crazy. And we sold these watermelons on the 4th of July, just at the park, and called our friends' parents. You know, this is before cell phones. We're like, dialing up, you know. That's right. And, you know, I made more money in one day than I would have made working minimum wage the entire summer.
Crazy.
And so it was that mentality of you don't have to trade your time for money was inside of me, because he poured it into me. I didn't know that at the time. I think us as dads, we don't know how much impact, for better or for worse, you know what I mean, we have on our kids. Because when you're a kid, you don't know what's happening when it's happening. Right. It wasn't until I was looking back that I was like, oh, interesting.
Your dad's brilliant.
So, yeah.
My dad did pretty much the exact same thing. You know, from a very young age, my brothers and I, we got paper routes. Some kids these days don't even know what a newspaper is, but we get on our rollerblades. We'd fold up the papers, band them, and, you know, we'd go and and throw them out with a big old like bag over our shoulder, you know? But we had to go get our subscribers before.
Wow. No way.
Yeah. So
wow.
they gave us on the route. You know, this was out in the Huntington Harbor and Huntington Beach, and we each had an island that we did, you know, the paper routes on. And we were kids, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
You know? So and then he taught us, you know, the power of sales and door knocking as young men, you know, knocking doors to spray paint the curbs, you know, that dress on the side of the curb.
Oh, I did that.
Yeah, right.
So cool.
I mean, I did that all through high school.
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's a lot of money in that.
The thing that my dad said is like, okay, yeah, you can go work and make, I think at the time minimum wage was $7.25.
Exactly. Yes.
And so he's like, you can go do that, or you can make 5 times that by doing 5 curbs in 1 hour.
Were you charging $10 or something like that?
$10.
Yeah, okay.
$10, dude. $10.
Who says no?
Right. And
no one knows where you are.
We would hustle, dude. Like I paid for everything. I even did it right after
yeah.
I got home from a mission for my church.
Works. Totally works.
And he helped us understand the power of time and using it effectively. You know, and he taught us it as a young man. I would learn it as a young man, and I always had that mentality the rest of my life. Is I wanted to see what I could really go out and do, man, without having to have an hourly paying job. And the best thing, and I will forever be grateful to my parents about this, is they put me in a position that forced me to learn how to communicate.
That's
and
true.
To meet people. Yeah. And to learn sales points. And
no,
anyway,
you're right.
I'm so grateful for that.
What's weird is it's not even about the money. At some point, you need money. You have to make money. But for these kinds of situations we're talking about, it wasn't about the actual money. That was sort of an incentive. It was all those lessons learned around it.
Right.
Going and meeting someone, talking to them face to face, becoming a normal human who knows how to interact and to trade and to add value. And you know,
so
those
true.
things are learned by doing.
So true. So question for you, Richie. I have a couple questions that you're going to be able to probably dive deeply into.
Okay.
So we have a room of 100 young men. Let's say between the ages of 12 and 18.
Okay.
Young men and women. What do you tell them that leads them into the next chapter of their life professionally? What things can they be doing, looking for, or how can they prepare themselves as they're moving into, you know, say their 20s when they start getting real, like your dad was talking about. You have the chance to work. You're going to be working the rest of your life.
Yeah.
What should they be doing?
Oh, I know exactly what it is. It's start now, don't wait. Think of all these people that are waiting to be successful until they get all these credentials and all these degrees. The majority of them end up not doing anything with it. And they end up doing something totally different.
So true. I wonder what the stats are around that.
You can, that'd be interesting to find, but like you can live multiple lives by doing it now. Like if you need a credential, you can also get a mentor that has it or a partner that has it. Meaning you can, if you still need it, you are more likely to be successful in it if you're working with someone who already has one. Amen. In the capacity that is allowed.
Amen.
Right? So I say START, and it starts an acronym I created for serve, think, ask, receive, and trust.
Wait, say that again, slower.
START. Serve, think, ask, receive, and trust. START. Serve.
Start.
That's it, man. You're like, what do I do? You start. Go. If you have something in mind that you like, that you want to do, go serve someone who's doing it. Thank them for the opportunity to do it. Don't be an idiot and be like, oh yeah, I'm serving you. You owe me. They don't owe you anything.
They're teaching you invaluable lessons.
And that way you earn the right to ask for more help. Because a lot of people just ask, which is fine. But a lot of people, they burn bridges by asking too early. I don't mean to be rude about it.
No, you're right.
But there needs to be a transformational relationship, not a transactional relationship. So you earn the right to ask. Then you are open to receiving. And, you know, you're a sports guy. I know you like baseball, but, you know, and there's football people up here too.
Yeah.
If a quarterback threw the ball and a receiver knocked the ball out of the air on purpose,
to not catch it,
or even caught it, put their knee down, people would be like, what is wrong with you? You had this whole line like setting you up. You got people cheering for you. Like we worked so hard to get to this point and you just don't care. When we don't receive graciously because we think we're taking advantage or whatever, we are just ruining the whole game. The way to receive is to win with the lessons learned. They want you to score.
Kind of like a receiver catching the ball and moving the ball upfield.
That's right.
Because they're grateful they got the ball. Now they keep moving with it.
Take it.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant, dude. Go. That's brilliant.
And then you trust this process. That's what I would say. I would say, because they're going to do all kinds of things. Let's be real. The jobs they want in 10 years don't exist. They haven't been created. This didn't exist. This barely existed 10 years ago.
So true.
It doesn't exist.
It's crazy.
And think about it this way. Think about who you were 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if you're like most people, you were a different person, different situation, different money, maybe different like family situation, different lifestyle. You live somewhere. We don't want our goals we had 10 years ago. We don't even want them. So when people project these goals they want in 10 years and they're going to wait for 10 years, the time has passed because they don't even want them anymore. That's right. It'd be better to reach forward from the end of a timeline and move it front and center.
That's great. So true.
Aristotle called it final cause. He'd say, like, if there's a piece of wood and you want to make a table, then you have to find the materials. You have to have someone design it, someone to put it together, and eventually you have the table. But today it's different. The final cause isn't a table. It's what was the effect of the table? Was it a dinner with your family? Because we got Uber Eats now. I'm not going to spend any time making a table. I'm going to make a freaking phone call. I'm going to press a button.
Just press a button.
So
it's crazy.
They can live this life they want in the future. Now, it's not a job later. It's
love that.
It's how you do it right now.
Love it. Love it. Dialed.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right.
Okay, so next question. You have learned to use social media to your advantage, and you do it brilliantly. So 2 questions around social media. 1, what is the bad of social media, especially for a young person and even an old person? Let's just say in general, what are some of the downfalls of social media? And then secondly, what are the great things about social media and how it can be leveraged to do incredible good for both yourself and for others? So where can it be dangerous, and then how can it be good?
Okay, so I one of my weaknesses is that I am an optimist, but I've learned that it's not just being eternally optimistic. It's about having a possibility mindset. So what is possible, right? And thinking that way allows you to think about things in a more multidimensionally, because there's lots of aspects even to the question you're asking. So the downside of social media to an individual is not just, is it addictive or not? Because I think you can be addicted to anything. Let's be real, right?
Exactly.
If it's not this, it's something else. It's when you start, it's not, I don't even want to say when you start comparing yourself to someone else and you feel bad, because that's going to happen anywhere too. It's when you tell yourself, I can't, because they already did.
I really like that.
That's the danger.
Yep.
It's not true.
It's not true. It's not true. That's a really, really good point. I actually absolutely agree with you. And, I shouldn't say this, but I have a child that suffers from something like that a little bit, where they see things and don't feel like they can do something because it's already been done, or they do it so much better than they ever could.
Totally.
It's such a lie.
It's a lie.
Such a lie.
I mean, you could almost say, because they did, I can too.
That's exactly right. Or maybe do it better.
Do it better. Do it different.
Better.
And it also depends on what your goal is and what you're trying to do, and sure, it can take a while to go viral. If you go viral, or do you need to at all? But people will look at it with different goals. Like for some people, they just want that one boy or that one girl to like it.
That's right. Just get a like, thumbs up, a heart.
And then it's a specific person. And in another world, it's like, no, if I don't get 1 million views,
I'm not doing it right.
Yeah.
What's really interesting about this, and I just had, I don't know if you know who Clarity is. We talked at great length about how these different social platforms have really, really figured out people and just human nature. And what they are doing is they are allowing some of these videos or photos that are put out by their users to hit big. So it's like they give them a taste of crazy success, right? So they're seeing like, I got 100,000 views, and then the next video or post that goes out only gets 1,000 views. They're like, what have I done wrong? I suck at this. Well, I gotta do better. I gotta figure it out. So it's like they'll inject this massive hit of dopamine around hitting the big numbers. And that to them becomes success.
Yes. You have a new high watermark.
Right?
Yep.
And so I really thought that was interesting. And I never really thought about it that way, but I have seen it. I've started to watch and see how they do that.
You've probably experienced. I've experienced it.
For sure.
Like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like I just had a video hit huge the other day, and the next one was 100th of the number of views that one got. Yeah. And I thought the second video was better.
Yeah, I agree. Because we work with a lot of entrepreneurs,
yeah,
too, everyone's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I realize, even though it's old school, I still really believe in email lists and owning your own, ability
100%.
to contact people.
And there are stats around the power of that.
It's huge. But you just have to. I try to warn people, because I have worked with especially creators on YouTube where their emotions and their self-value goes up and down with how many views they get, and they're always concerned when they spend a bunch of money on a video and it doesn't work out, and they did some prank video and it goes crazy and it costs them nothing. Like, what happened? Yeah. Look at that part. As much as social media can be in your control, or what you put out, or whatever you can do to influence it, that's cool. But at some point, you have to remember, you don't have control. So don't blame yourself or put value on whether it pops or not. Do your best to help the ones that are watching and listening, and be grateful for that.
Absolutely. So the second part of the question: where is the power in social media, and how does one use it to move forward?
I'll tell you how I use it.
Yeah.
I use it for instant logging. I know logging sounds like a weird word, but that's where the word blog comes from. Mm-hmm. Logging things, writing things down. Because before, I was in a punk rock band growing up. So I would make music. I'd write things down on a piece of pen and paper and put it in my pocket. Yeah. I can't read my own handwriting. It would go in the washing machine. It would disappear. So that's not a problem anymore, because I can write it down immediately.
Right.
People are still trying to perfect every post, which in my opinion, you don't want to say anything that's going to hurt other people or hurt you. Yeah. But it's a bad way to do it, because when I write something, I can see what people, as much as it can, see what they're like. What people like. Then I can refine it. Then I can write an article about it. Then I can write a book about it. Then I can have quotes about it.
Right.
Like if you type in Richie Norton quotes, I didn't necessarily do that on purpose. Just there's quotes of mine everywhere, being quoted by banks, by celebrities. I don't know how they're finding them or where they're coming from, but they came out because I was just writing things. People would like them, then they go other places. So to me, the value of social media is it's almost in a good way, an addicting way to be productive. It can be faux productivity, right? It's not actually productive if you're not doing something with it. But I can get it out of my mind into the world. The world can react, and I can improve upon it, and then I can create value that way.
Love it. Do you believe that every person on planet Earth has something valuable to offer?
Well, of course. Why else would they be here?
Amen. Amen.
It's true.
Another thing my parents taught me as a young little guy was make an effort to get to know everyone, as many people as you can, because there's so much to learn from every one of them. They all have something that could bring value to your life and something you can learn from.
Yeah. I love the value of social media to rally people together to a common cause, to create community. Like when we got back from that trip across the country, my son was crossing the street at Sunset Beach. It's a highway, and he was on his bike, or he was walking his bike. I'm not really sure exactly. A car hit him. The car was going, over 40 miles an hour, just distracted driver. I was actually traveling. I was actually giving a speech, and then on my way to China for some work, and I get these texts middle of the night. I get a phone call. I come back. My son's in the hospital, so I cancel everything, fly back. But social media came together, gave us a little boost. They were all praying for us. Everything's good. That feels good. Does that help him immediately, directly? Yes. There are people in the community, very famous, nice, cool community leaders that came and the lifeguards from North Shore, because he was like a North Shore junior lifeguard guy. Yeah. They came to visit him in the hospital. And what's crazy about the whole situation is I asked him, I said, I was really scared he'd be scared of life, scared of anything, because get hit by a car. But it's the opposite. It wasn't like he was hit by a car. It was like he beat the car.
So cool.
Fortunately, he's alive, but now he's riding these gigantic waves, and doing whatever he wants and being crazy. But I do remember we're thinking, son passed away, brother-in-law passed away, foster kids go, son gets hit by a car, wife loses her memory. I thought, does God hate me?
I would doubt that thought didn't cross your mind, for real.
And I'm bringing this together with, the things you're talking about here, and, the hard times, and, is it good or bad? But I thought, does God hate me? And then I thought, actually, I was walking on the beach. I was like, these didn't happen to me. They happened to the people I love, which sometimes hurts more, right? Than happening to you.
Oh, yeah.
In many ways. And I thought they weren't strung together. It wasn't like a domino effect. These are separate incidents that happened. I'm stringing them together.
Right.
And then I thought, this is my thought, my revelation there was, love God unconditionally. And I never really thought about it that way. But when I did, I thought, if I love God unconditionally, it allowed me to stop blaming daddy in the sky and blaming life, and let me just to keep my faith and go to work. It gave me actually more power to now work on my life and work on my family and work on my work and do the things that I love. So, I really learned that when people say they want to do something and they have all these terrible things happening, which who doesn't?
Everyone does.
I think of like a baker. Like, you can't bake a cake without sugar and expect it to be sweet, unless it's some keto thing or something like that, right? Then you can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
But you can't bake a cake without sugar and expect it to be sweet. You have to put the sugar in from the start. You have to bake your values in from the start.
So true.
If you want to live a life of quote unquote success, you want to live from those values, not endlessly toward them.
Dude, I love that. You talk about God. It wasn't until I had children that I fully understood how God sees me. And not only just, having children, when I had children and as they've gotten older, like, dude, I want to kill my kids sometimes. They drive me freaking nuts.
Yeah.
But I love them unconditionally, man. And I'd do anything for them. And I want them to progress. I want them to win. I want them to be happy. And I'd do whatever it takes. And yes, they drive me nuts and they make tons of mistakes, but I still love them and I'd do anything for them. I'd die for them. And also I feel the same way about just people in general, because we're all brothers and sisters. I really believe that. But it wasn't until I had kids that I fully understood how God viewed me. And it's changed my life. And so I'm grateful to be a parent, even though it's absolute chaos at times. Chaos. But it's great. Don't ever shy away from being a parent, y'all. Ever. Because it offers so much opportunity and experience and knowledge.
So much joy. It's
true.
Right?
It's
so true.
It's crazy.
It's so true.
So Richie, dude, I seriously could sit here for hours. But I always kind of like to end some of my podcasts with I call them whack questions, just to get to know you a little bit better.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So just to get to know you a little bit better. So I love music, and I think it's fascinating learning about the music that those I meet or come in contact with listen to. What are you listening to right now? Who's your favorite band right now, or genre of music? Just what are you digging right now? What do I need to check out?
You need to listen to more K-pop.
K-pop?
Yeah. And you need to listen to that song by 50/50. I think they're called, where they're I'm just going to leave it there.
Dude, no, keep going. Okay, well, maybe we can leave it there. But K-pop, dude.
I'm obsessed. It's so good.
Oh, shoot. Have you heard of G Idol?
I don't know.
So there's a K-pop band that's huge called G Idol that we just started, chatting with them, getting ready to do something.
But I still go.
It's happy, fun music.
I still go back to like my 90s pop punk roots constantly. That's what I listen to the most.
Yeah, so me too.
It's amazing that it's come back. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
it's crazy.
It's like going back in time again.
Right?
Everything.
Clothing too.
Everything.
Like, I'm like, am I in high school? All the girls, like last night, my little girl had her party, and I'm like, this is my high school dress.
Know. It is so crazy.
Nuts, dude. What's the first concert you ever went to?
Oh, my friend took me, because he had an extra ticket, to a Cranberries concert.
Did you linger?
I totally lingered.
Or were you a zombie?
I'm so glad you know. But I grew up in San Diego, going to a place called Soma.
Yeah.
And that's where I was, it was Blink-182 and Unwritten Law and Green Day.
Unwritten Law? It's one of my favorite bands of all time.
I just saw them, recently too.
Dude.
They're doing they do these, old school little tour things every once in a while.
I love them. They're a band that never hit the top of the top, but they're as good as they come. Check out Unwritten Law.
Yeah, they're the best.
We used to cover we used to cover a lot of their songs back in the day.
So you were in a band too?
Yeah, I was. My brothers were more the band, but I would always like show up for like guest appearances on stage and like.
Dude.
I love to sing and jump all over the
stage. Garage band thing back then was like nothing else.
Oh, dude, it's so fun.
Unbelievable.
So fun.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, who's the greatest superhero of all time?
Well, when you said, I was just gonna say you are, because you're here looking at me, and I could say my dad. You know what I mean? But if we're talking about like made up people,
comics,
the comics.
Who is your favorite, or who do you who's the best?
I want to try and say somebody cool, but if I'm gonna be true to myself, I'm gonna have to say Napoleon Dynamite. That guy.
One of the greatest movies of all time, by the way.
That guy makes my soul sing.
Is that movie not so good?
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, and it gets funnier every time you see it.
Have you seen Eurovision? Yeah.
No.
With Will Ferrell?
No. Is it pretty good?
It is.
I need to check it out.
It is up there.
Will Ferrell, man, it cracks me up. Napoleon Dynamite. That's hilarious. Okay, cool. Who's the best Star Wars character of all time to you?
You just have to say Luke. You know what I mean? You can't.
Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I like it. Do you know that I just bought a lightsaber?
No way.
A real one.
It cuts and stuff?
No, I guess not a real one. But it's pretty close. I'll have to show you. It's kind of awesome.
No, but I've seen the kind that have an actual laser that will cut things.
I know. I've seen that.
Danger.
And one day it's going to come out.
That's right.
For real.
Yeah.
What would you say that your wife's biggest pet peeve about you would be?
Oh, I'm probably too happy in the morning. You know what I mean?
That's my issue, dude. That is my issue. I'm not kidding. My wife does not like how happy I am, and she hates that I start almost every one of my days watching funny Instagram videos.
Yeah.
Because I think a laugh in the morning.
That's good.
And my brothers and sister, we send funny stuff, and I go right to there just to get a good laugh out. And my wife can't stand it because she's kind of a zombie in the morning. But that's so funny, dude. That's the same. I would say that's one of the same things.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, well, dude, I can't thank you enough for being on. I have so much respect and admiration.
Thanks,
like, dude,
excited to be here.
You are one of the good guys. And where can people follow you on social media?
I'm everywhere, just Richie Norton. Go to richienorton.com/time, and I have a guide that helps you create what I call anti-time management, where you become a time tipper so you can live from your values and not endlessly toward them. In other words, change how you're paid, change your life so that you can do the things you want. That's awesome. Just have an awesome,
Yeah, I can't praise this guy enough. And I mean, he's constantly putting out incredible content to learn from. I mean, I just read something about being a better parent that you put out. That was fantastic.
Thanks, brother.
So anyway, go follow him. My last question, I already know the answer to it.
Okay.
Your favorite cereal, which happens to be my number one.
Dude, Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
You can't beat that.
And this is the special edition emoji.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the emoji.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for finding that for me.
Don't let any of your kids eat
amazing.
it. You deserve every square inside of that box.
It's all mine.
Anyway, thanks for being with us today. Until next time, sayonara.